Like we were not done last time with the complete steps of process of nutrition, so now it's the third steps, which is absorption. What does that mean? That means intake of diffusible particles. Now here the question arises, like in the first process for ingestion, there also we did intake of a intake of the food or intake of the substance, but here note my point, like note my words, intake of diffusible particles. Diffusible, how? If you talk about the diffusible, which means which could be broken down or which are essential for body and required. Here if we talk about the indiffusible, which means which cannot be broken down, okay. Here this means intake of the diffusible particles which have been like diffusible is like to divide or like that can go inside body, that are the small parts. When the salivary gland, we have just studied about the chemical digestion and the mechanical digestion. Here let me remove this. We have the chemical digestion or mechanical digestion. Here chemical we used. So here this means if it had entered in the mouth, saliva gland has been mixed, but here at the time all particles were intake in our body, but in this absorption only the particles which would be diffusible, which could be that could be only gone inside. Now here this mean which do not allow big particle, like big particles, just because big particles does not allow to cross cell membrane, that's the reason we have another step which is absorption, like different between ingestion, okay. So now here what will do, food will decide. Now for what food will decide either it has to go in the cell or bloodstream. But mostly if I do talk about, mostly the like this have to food particles are gone into this means mostly gone into the bloodstream. And you know what, this is also part of our lymphatic system. We do have in our lymphatic system, we do have bloodstream and other all of the function. We do not have right now the topic, I will not discuss further, but let me tell you, this is also part of our lymphatic system as well. Not only this, after that we do have this another process which would be the fourth part, which is known as assimilation. I cannot pronounce, sorry. And what does that mean? Assimilation is the word which means utilization, or simply utilize of the food in our body. This means it's a utilization. Now what will utilize? Some product which have been gone through our body, or like which are here in the first process we were done, these have been intake. In the second it was breakdown. Here these were two types of digestion, like chemical or mechanical. So in this only diffusible particle were allowed. So now the indiffusible particle will be thrown. Or now if I talk about the first thing, which is fiber. Here this means they have to be utilized, like our body is working really hard to take water and that all, it will not allow directly to go indivisible particle throughout the body. This means in this process only utilization would happen. Fiber I will talk later on. This means amino acids are utilized. Like utilization of digested molecule. Here if we talk about the glucose, which is known as ATP, like which have to convert. ATP is known as energy currency. How? If we just talk about if you want to buy anything, this means we have to first give money or like some amount. Here if we want to work in our body, this means energy is really compulsory, and energy is taken throughout the nutrition or the food we intake. So this means energy is ATP is the energy currency required for our body. For what? For the locomotion. And if we talk about fatty acids as well, fatty acids are like converted to adipose tissue. These are the convergent. This means when this is not required in a body, that have to convert into micromolecules and then further processes. This is also known as assimilation. Thirdly, we do have amino acid, which could have like converted into ribosomes later on. Like first protein was converted to amino acid, then in amino acid that have been converted into ribosomes. Not only that, if we talk about the protein here, protein protein helps in the growth and maintenance. Now what growth and maintenance is? Growth here of what in our body? Growth of our nails and hairs. Nails and hairs growth is controlled by our protein. Now, like some people do have growth of nails very fast, like they grow up very quickly. This means they have a lot of intake of protein in their food, in their nutrition. So this means nails and hairs growth is all about the intake of the protein. This means in this assimilation process, this process, so that was in the assimilation. Now it's a fifth step and the last step, that is known as digestion. Is what is in this process? It's the elimination of undigested matter. Okay, elimination of undigested particles. Not only this, how like here it was done diffusible particles. Here some utilization happens if it have to pass from our body. In this, like some utilize something, it have thrown in this, like which are indivisible particle, then it have to utilize in some cases. And in this egestion, this means it's a removal. It's a removal, like substance which is not required for our body. This means it is simple, the removal of undigested particle in this. Now what are some indivisible particle? If we talk about the example, fiber. So what happened, like we do intake fiber in our body. From what things we do get fiber? We do get from watermelon or some green vegetables as well, but here we will talk about the watermelon. This means watermelon is the food from where we can intake fiber. But what if I say this fiber is like remove out from our body? This is the digestion process. What do I say? So now the question arises, why is it so? Why fiber is not required for our body? This means just because it prevents us from the constipation. This means it does not really have the any work in our body, but it helps us to prevent through the constipation. And yes, this means in digestion, that's known as the removal or the elimination of the undigested food particles which do not require for our body. Whereas example goes here, that is fiber which we do get from watermelon, but that is not required for our body. In the last it have to be removed, but that help us to prevent the constipation. So yes, this was all about today. Hope you like it. Bye bye.